Hello everyone, welcome to this talk event that is joint program of the Annecy International Animation Film Festival 2021 and MIFA. My name is MACHIBA Katsutoshi, XR Contents Producer at XR Strategic Planning Office of the company Supership. The main theme of today's joint session is expanded animation. Today, we'd like to focus particularly on expansion of screen, VR, AR, and MR, and looking at cutting-edge technology and storytelling in international film festivals. Other than talk, there are several other events, so please find it out in our website. And this talk session is available in both Japanese and English, so please select your language. So first, we'd like to have the self-introduction from myself and Mr. YUHARA, and then that will be followed by the talk event heart part, the cutting-edge technology and storytelling. Then I would summarize the session, and so it will be about 1 hour program. So let me start with a little introduction. So my name is MACHIBA Katsutoshi. I'm the content producer of XR in XR Planning Office of the Supership company. And basically, I'm working on producing the VR contents. Having said that, the year 2016 is called the first year of VR, and before that, the VR was mostly used as a communication tool like SNS or games. But from 2016, international film festivals started to feature VR or XR as new potential tool for filmmaking. From 2016, I also started to use VR for creating my storytelling contents. One of the representative work is in 2017, I produced Ultraman Zero VR together with Mr. Tsubuhara, and I well appreciated and invited many film festivals. And that is followed by 2018 with Mr. Shinichiro Ueda, the director. I created the work Blue Thermal, and also together with the Google Creator Lab, I actually produced documentary Day One. In 2019, I produced Feather with Keisuke Ito, the director, and also last year in 2020, The Beat, this work was actually nominee of the Venetian Film Festival. And now I'm producing some VR works and productions while communicating the International Film Festival's organizers, searching for potential of the cutting-edge technology for the storytelling, besides releasing my own work using VR. So that's my current focus and activities. So I hope I made myself clear enough. So then, today we have a guest, Mr. Kazuki Yuhara. So, Mr. Yuhara, you actually be awarded the New Face Award in the 24th Japan Media Art Festival Entertainment Division. Congratulations. Yes, so please introduce yourself to the audience. Yes. My name is Yuhara. I belong to game course in the Graduate School of Film and New Media, Tokyo University of Arts. So currently, I create VR animations and games mostly. Especially, I use a technique of hand-drawing animation in VR space, and the work with that technique, I actually created Canaria and received a New Face Award in 24th Japan Media Art Festival Entertainment Division. So it's my great honor. Thank you, Yuhara-san. So from here onwards, we'd like to focus on today's theme, expanded screen, cutting-edge technology, and storytelling in the World Film Festival today. So I would give you introductory sort of explanation and then move on to your comment and experience. As I said, the year 2016 is remarked as the first year of VR. Film festivals all over the world started to recognize that cutting technologies like VR, AR, MR are next generation production method of the storytelling. Until last year, before COVID-19 pandemic, there were so many variety in the VR works in different festivals. But since last year, many of the festivals have been online, and actually the changing to the festival in online event affects the content itself. So the VR actually does not have established standard format, and complicated structure or heavy data are rather worried by the festival organizers. For the meantime, the Venetia Festival, for example, made announcement that they would continue online festival even after COVID-19 pandemic and maintain the festival as hybrid, both online as well as on-site. Other than Venice, actually there are many other film festivals trying to host the festival online, but many of them have been doing kind of try and errors to find out the format to be established for that online event available. So assume that this year many of the festival will be still on online events. So Yuhara-san, I think you have been invited for many of the festivals, both online and on-site. So what was your impression on online festival? Well, I myself have never visited the on-site VR film festival like Venezia or the Kaohsiung Film Festival. So I don't know how it is like the VR film festival on site. Regarding online film festival, I had experienced last year the Cannes VR virtual. Last year, I visited with you, MACHIBA-san, and it was fun, actually, because, well, things like creating your own avatar and had conversation with others, or had opportunity to talk with the festival organizers and staff members. Also, before experience the production, there are some booths available. Well, actually, some creators prepared booths to exhibit things related to the films. For example, The Book of the Distance by Randall Okita, which is the story about an old man migrated from Japan to Canada. And items belong to him, like his suitcase of letters, of photos, or the passports, were exhibited in the space. And I found it very interesting because it looks like exhibition space and his own work or creation is well united and coordinated. Sure, I feel VR films are, I'm sure, evolving every year, I think. So probably we will see completely different or totally new productions. So I will go back to this point later. Okay, let me move on to the next page. I myself have been participated in many film festivals, and film festivals and exhibitions handling the high-tech technology have trial and errors. And when I visited the festival, the difficulty and challenges of the operation and exhibition made me kind of compose this slide. So in XR, from put on to put off the head mount device is a part of the contents and experience of the work. So the festival organizers have to be very careful about operation and exhibition as well as audience experience. I myself organized this year the first VR specialized film festival in Japan. Each content has its unique way of providing experience, so if an audience finds it cumbersome before experiencing contents, that affects the entire experience and also the contents of the works. So I had to be extremely careful at the time. So then I thought about categorization of the films. Generally speaking, it's 3DOF and 6DOF. 3DOF, which is basically 360-degree information image data and replayed with very specific device like the MP4. So it is said it's not so difficult to operate or to exhibit in that sense. Regarding the 6DOF, the artwork actually using 6DOF or 6DOF plus some other devices, the process to reach the experience is rather cumbersome, i.e. the non-contents part of the operation is quite complicated, so the organizer have to make a good balance and consider how to present it to the experiencer or the visitors. Having said that, well, if we consider the operational challenges of these films with new technology, the VR creators should keep in mind that it is quite important that film festival operators can understand their film very well. So in that sense, it is an image production, but somehow close to installation. That was the idea the creator should keep in mind when they submit the products or the work to the festival. So in short, today creator needs to think about contents, of course, but also how to exhibit the work at festival. So I have a question about you, Yuhara-san. So have you experienced some difficulty or challenge, or have you ever stuck in the middle of the works? Well, well, before that experience, if you don't mind, I'd like to mention about the good experience or fun experience, if you don't mind. Yes, please. That is Feather by Ito, and I'm sure you were with me at the time when I play it. It was very easy to play because when timing comes, it's simply that I pick up the feather and give it to the girl. But when feather appears or when I give it to the girl, it's quite easy. The effect actually trigger and help us know the timing. And on the other hand, well, there are two sort of difficult experiences. Rather than difficult, I have to say it's the matter of the VR literacy. So in VR, there are some areas we still don't know what we can do and what we can't do. And well, we truly rely on the producer or the artist, what they're allowed to do so. So the Randall's product, as I just mentioned, there are some place I staggered. So there was a scene to cross the border, and I supposed to give the passport to the border control officer. But just giving the passport, nothing happens. And after giving the passport, I have to walk across the line or go to the other side. I was not sure what I supposed to do at the beginning, but later I found that I should actually physically move to the other side. And that was a kind of, well, moving or astonishing good surprise. Because grabbing or watching or giving something and that kind of physical action are actually done in a conventional games just through the button operation. But well, VR literacy poses some problems. So once people know certain level of VR literacy, they can naturally respond to those tricks or the systems in a work. And also the other work, the monk's screen. Yes. So I play the game at home, and I'm sure an actual site or venue. I heard that the picture is on a wall. Yes, you see the canvas in front of you, and touching the painting and actually seeing the vision through the VR. Yes, so then I think, again, this is maybe one of the sort of issues for online festival. And maybe I can easily find it out if I were on a site. So the thing is, the game starts once I touch the canvas. But I believed that I should not touch the painting. So first, I didn't know how to react, and then I didn't touch the canvas. And then I thought it's strange, nothing happened. Then I thought, well, I should touch the paint. And then, well, the game started. But this is a kind of common sense maybe for some people, but some people it's not. And something which we can do for a particular program or the creations may not be applicable to the others. So that kind of challenges. Yes, so for those industry expert, that is a common sense. But for those who actually do or try for the first time that kind of VR, it's really hard to understand. So that kind of good understanding is quite important. As you said earlier, the creator make their best to create the work, but the user's literacy sometimes not reaching to fully enjoy or involved in that level of interaction directly. So if they don't interact and then the program or the story stops, even before getting into the contents, so it's quite unfortunate. So from the producer's perspective, especially for the international the movie festival, how to create the ground for smooth experience of the users or experiences, that's very important point, and then I will touch upon that later. So let me move on. So the next I'd like to mention about 3DOF, 360-degree moving image. So if I explain what 3DOF is, 3DOF actually detects the movement or the head or the tilt of the head to capture 360-degree views, replaying the movie image or the moving image in a dedicated player enable us to create the individual experience. And also, the multiple people can enjoy and experience the same experience in the same space at the same time. And also, the data set is the MP4, the moving image data, so it can be replayed on the PC or the smartphones. Some festivals actually do not provide headset, but I myself, without that specific headset or head mount device, it may not be a true VR. But in this COVID situation, some individual or staying enjoying this sort of contents at home may not have the head mount display kit, so it may be inevitably in that way. However, if the work is created originally with the use of that device, and then the representation of PC and smartphone will be different from what is originally intended. And then there must be some specific special ways to create the same impact by using PC or smartphone. And then I'd like to ask you next question. What are the impressive 3DOF works you recently experienced? Yes, there are 3. Yes, please. What are they? Yes, I experienced at Beyond the Frame Festival, which was the first large-scale VR festival in Japan. And there I found 2 very interesting productions. So one of the VR work is Home, and the other is Replacement. So the first one, Home, was very impressive because, first of all, the director, it was Shu Chinyan. I hope my pronunciation is okay. Well, I don't know whether it's correct or not, but the name is correct. Yes, so the director, Shu, is making a lot of music videos, so the images he creates is very beautiful. And with that beautiful images, he actually drew the sort of viewpoint of the grand aunts. The work is quite private ones, but he captures kind of sadness or the heartache after everyone left, watching the TV with a long take filming. In normal film, such long take may not be possible, but with VR fits so well. Almost longer is better in this case. So also people in the VR are kind of theatrical. I remember when I saw The Phantom of the Opera by Shiki Theatrical Company. In the same stage, in the same space, actors in different roles having a different conversation on the same stage at the same time, the relationship like husband and wife and children, or a lot of relationships are placed on the same space. So the VR actually pick up those individual different elements in the same space, and that let us involved very proactively to the space. Yes, Home is one of my favorite works as well. Since some role is given in a context, so we are able to get into the sort of context and story quite naturally. I found it splendid, and I wish I could introduce Home in Japan. Yes, I definitely agree with you. Yes, it is a live filming. Well, VR using the live filming is quite difficult because you can't cut and also can't move the sort of camera so much. So I had no idea how to use the live filming for the VR, but well, it was astonishing or a good surprise to find his technology and also the technique. Yes, so move on to the next one. Yes, the second one is called Replacement by Jonathan. Based on his own memory as well as grandmother's memory of Jakarta, he created a virtual Jakarta image capturing the images as if using a fixed-point camera. So the image, and in fact this is an animation film, but I found the transition of the town, street, and people are very interesting. I can just keep on watching without getting tired. The things like a change of the buildings, the posters and advertisement, these are changing. So without word, without explanation, you can actually feel the change of the time. And what is great about this work is that there's no axis or fixed point of view. I mean, it's interesting point of this replacement. The similar point I can find in homes. There's no sort of set of expectation of the creators for the viewers where to look at. So with that liberty is quite high. With that liberty, we can see wherever we want, not focusing on the people, but we can focus on the town. So this is very unique characteristics of the VR, I think. Yes, so the 360-degree moving image by 3DOF, I see a new potential and possibility of this technology by watching this work. Jonathan actually used the ukiyo-e-like frame, and it's really fitting and suitable for the VR. He is the artist willing to stay in Japan and keep on creating his own work, and he's now living in Kyoto. So he's the kind of rising star for the future. And then, Yuhara-san, your Mauve and Canaria, also the 3DOF works. So I'm looking forward to hearing of these two works later. So let me continue for meantime. Now I'd like to talk about 6DOF. So the 6DOF detects not only tilt or movement of the head, but also it can detect movement up and down and right and left. So the experiencer or anyone can move freely in the space. In case of 3DOF, rather than free movement in a space, the movement of neck and what it follows along with that movement of the neck. So 6DOF allow an experience get close to the object and get the other side of the object. May be created with the game engines such as Nifty or Unreal Engine. Therefore, as shown in the picture, the 2 or 3 people can actually get into the same virtual space at the same time. Having said that, it is difficult to use living images in 6DOF, so majority of the works with 6DOFs are CG animation or programmed production. Well, in other words, otherwise you can't create 6DOF work. And also, the experience varies based on the production. And, well, as I said before, online event or online festivals under COVID impact were actually the chaos last year. So Venetian Festival last year, they had difficulty until they finalized the detail and specification of those works submitted. And actually, there are many of the works they received, they were not quite sure whether they can put onto the online or not, because of the complicated structure and technology. VR sometimes requires different platforms or devices per contents. So the light users will likely to find quite difficult to enjoy immediately. So how to show them the contents easily and smoothly is one of the challenges for the future. So now I'd like to ask you other question. So what are the 6DOF productions you find impressive? Yes, there are 2 in mind. One of them is a game called Half-Life Alyx. So the graphics, voice, sound, storytelling, games element everything is splendid. So you can touch anything, draw freely anything with pen, and interaction with characters. The characters always watching us, or you know, then I think it is due to the consideration for the operability of the VR. The roads are straight and there's no branches. So without branches, those low literacy with VR can easily enjoy. And this is a kind of horror game. There's a zombie in image. So VR 6 DOF presumably requires us to be proactive, opening the doors or, with a torch in one hand to go through dark places. So it was so scary and horrified. So I told myself this is my research, but otherwise I wish I could quit several times. Well, at the beginning, I was wondering how to call the VR storytelling, and I called VR movie in Japanese. And then I found this movie wasn't appropriate because movie automatically let us imagine something passive. As you said before, however, the VR storytelling, you need to be a little bit more proactive. So the prototype image of the movie, just sit still and enjoy the vision, doesn't fit. I understand your point because regarding my experience, which I somehow confuse how to enjoy, I had experience with 3DOF work. It's just easy to move your neck or head and then that leads you to the contents. But when I ask elderlies or for those who have low literacy about VR, asking to enjoy my work, one of my work for the graduation exhibition, they didn't know how to react. And they somehow looking straight in front of them for a while. So that's maybe coming from the image or the prototype image of the movie. I see. So please continue. Yes, the next the work is so-called Wolves in the Walls, and also this is actually awarded Emmy Award in the United States. And the heroine, a key character here, is called Lucy, and she found that the strange noise from the old house is actually by the wolves behind the wall. I love this program. The first, my height and Lucy, the character's height, are aligned. So before I enter the game, my eyesight or eye line is high, but once I get inside the game, I find myself looking in the same level with Lucy. And also, there are lots of communication points in the story. I can communicate with Lucy. And also, for example, I had to take the ghost picture of the wolves, and I have to use the camera to take the picture. But since I'm a kind of imaginary friend of the Lucy in a story, so I don't have hand. That Lucy draw the hand, and then that will become my hand, and then give it the camera, and I took picture. But I couldn't find any wolves in the picture. But when Lucy gave me the magnifier, and then I can see the wolves in the picture. It's a wonderful work. Yes, I love that work as well. But yeah, I have a good idea. So maybe I can write about this work in my weekly writing because I haven't introduced this wolves in the wall yet in Japan. Yes, please. What is great about this work is that, well, the Lucy wants us to take actions, such as taking a picture, as I mentioned. Well, if I did not take the camera, story still goes on. What I mean is that, well, Lucy gives me a camera, but if I don't take it, she put it on the floor and automatically camera take the picture. And even without holding the magnifier, well, the Lucy actually take the picture and bring it with the magnifier and I can see the wolves. I see. So it means that there's a time slot while the story or the system waiting for the response. And if once that time is over, and then the story goes on. Yes, oh, that's wonderful. Well, I was so surprised. That ring the bell. There is a work called Gold Giant that is by Opera's Quest. And you are the ghost giant. So the settings are similar, but the main figure, heroine, I thought, yeah, that was a small raccoon. She could see you and looked up you, huge giant. And as a giant, you helped her quite a lot, whatever troubles she encountered. So the storytelling and gaming are combined. So giving the role to the user and let them act to go through the story. So the structure is wonderful. So I hope you to take a look at that. But there's a one trick. There are some tricks or the quiz you have to resolve. Otherwise, you're stuck there and keep on thinking until you find out the answer. So like the wolves in the wall, if there's a time set or the time trigger, and then for the storytelling, it's really easy to go through and it's quite important element for the storytelling. And with Ito, I often talked about the situation, what if the users do not interact or stop in the middle of the story? And some people actually keep on stopping more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And Japanese tend to keep on, staying without doing anything. So I wish they could tell me there's something wrong. So, well, how to lead or navigate the users is really an important point here. So, from here onwards, I'd like to talk about your work, the Canaria, that is a suite of work, and won the New Face Award in the entertainment division in the 24th Japan Media Art Festival by the Agency of Cultural Affairs. What is the original motivation of Canaria?
Well, the motivation or reason is I created more before that, and then I was invited to the Shinchitose International Animation Film Festival, which takes place every year in Hokkaido, and through Mr. Doi, the festival director, and Mr. Mirai Mizue, who told me back in college at the Tama University, and I was introduced to Mr. Shiro Tokumaru, and he kindly said to me that he had watched more and asked me to create a new piece of work. So I was very happy that he had said that, but at the same time I thought that was just a lip service. But I got official offer via email from him later. So that was the first time I had created the music video. So what I kept in mind was to pay attention to the vision of the Tokumaru-san. But he was very kind and saying that I could do it freely. So I did whatever I wanted to do in it. And Kubo-san and Kasai-san did sound mixing. So what I did was I just drew animation at my disposal. And their sound mixing was a perfect, great. I forgot the name. Well, it's sound for the 360 degrees spatial sound. Yes, that's it. The spatial sound that made the sound mixing really great. So that was a good opportunity for me to learn about this sound and drawing animation for 360 degrees. So I enjoy this process a lot. Well, so how did I do it at first? And Tokumaru-san gave me the lyrics, and by referring to it, and I just drew this storyboard, and at first meeting I explained about it and how does it sound, and just like that, and how to regard the space. If you look at the left bottom, and it is like the sun moves over me and sets over there, and I was storyboarding while keeping in mind the space, and I have got just one piece of the storyboard, but my focus was on the space and how to blend what I was thinking and the space. And with that storyboard, I just started drawing animation. I remember that Mo was totally hand drawn. How about this one? Hand drawn again for the entire work? You're right. Yes, you're right. I had hand drew animation first and did some composition with AE. So how long was the production process? Let me see. Well, I had the first ever meeting with Tokumaru-san on November 23rd, and it was completed and released on the June 6th. So it took around a month. No, 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 sorry, sorry. I made a mistake. Not 1 month, around 6 months. Phew, and it's possible to complete such a great work for 1 month. 6 months, okay. Well, in the case of the mall, you did it on your own, so you didn't need to show what you want to do to other people by using a storyboard. But this time around, so you are working with Tokumaru-san. So is it the first time you have drawn the storyboard? No, not really. When I was working on Mo, I drew a storyboard because I had to explain about it to the professors at university. And Tokumaru-san didn't say a lot to me. He said, with this song, and I would create animation at my disposal. So how do you draw a storyboard? No big difference for even VR? I draw it on a plain surface even for VR. Okay. Myself, I have drawn a storyboard for other works, but I do find the storyboarding for VR extremely difficult in terms of the correlation between the storyboard and the 360 degrees. And every artist in the world has their own unique way of depicting their story vis-a-vis 360 degrees. So it's interesting. Some of them use Quail to share the virtual space. Yeah, that's right. I thought you were going to use some software in the future, but it still sounds that you will stick to the hand-drawn, the storyboard on the flat surface, right? I think I do this way for the time being, but when more people get involved, definitely I would use the software for sure. So what was the area you were careful about in Canaria? The careful or pay attention to? Well, after going over to the space, so you'll see your view the going around and around and around. I myself have a high tolerance for the VR, the going around a lot. But it means that I have no idea how much I can do this because I don't know the level of the intensity making people feel sick. Yeah, I almost puked, but I didn't. Oh, that was great. I felt in Canaria more connected to work and more real-time VR experience than more. More enables users to see wide range of the 360-degree view, but Canaria has a story for a user to experience. So that is what I felt. So my most favorite scene was I was flying to the space. Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. It was a brand new experience which I can't have in other works, and the feeling of the where am I? No idea where the up and down are, and which is quite exciting, and I should say I have experienced rather than felt. I still don't know if I should have done it or not, but I think you did it, and it's a right decision. It's a right decision, and it's a good idea. But of course, some people would feel a bit sick, but I didn't. But I said in my mind, what a scene! I'm glad to hear that. Okay, and as you said earlier, you drew animation on the lyrics, right? Yes, I did so with Tokumaru-san's lyrics in mind and drew a storyboard. And it's basically about the aging bird is absorbed into the sound and then it gets life back. And with the legend of the phoenix in I wrote out a story. The end of his lyrics was a really fantastic and exciting, And I did think through, so how should I blend my animation with this part of the song? So I came to this conclusion of dancing. Okay, so did you have a conclusion on the end of your story in mind at first, or did you make story step by step and reached the ending? I didn't think through so how I should end the story first. So making a storyboard, and finally I came up with the this idea of the dancing. I think everyone can feel happy at the ending of your work for sure. I align the story with music and hope audience will enjoy my work with that music. I myself have witnessed the sound is a way more influential than the story in some works, but I saw in your work a good synergy between the two. And although I felt this was a sad story in the middle, but it turned out to be a happy story, which is good. Oh, thank you. Well, is there anything new you try in Canaria with compared to more? Well, in the scene, go into the space. I would say the equirectangular format was challenging to me, and 2 versus 1 format is usually used in VR, and I pasted the equirectangular format onto the sphere in Photoshop. So what I did was drawing on it while rotating the sphere by hand tool. So I wanted to express dynamics of my drawing. So I did draw animation on the horizontally long space, and which was a bit challenging to me this time around. Wow, that's the way you did it. When you worked on more, you did work by rotating it? Yes, exactly. By rotating by hand. But this time, I drew directly on the horizontally long space. So drawing became really dynamic. So are you going to create your third work this way too? I will ask you about this later. I think this way is a bit cumbersome for you, right? Yes, after I spend a lot of time in drawing, but at the end of the day, it looks so messy. It might happen. So what impressed me that you drew the animation while rotating the sphere. So in your work, I didn't know where I was. That was amazing. If you say it is successful, I'm glad. Yeah, it's great. Thank you. My pleasure. Let's move back to the agenda. Different topic. We were talking about the 3 DOF and the 6 DOF. VR is evolving every year. So traditionally, users move around and follow the story with a head mount on. That's the tradition. But recently, we have seen the emergence of the new type of the VR work with something else. Well, back in 2016, the 3 DOF was prevalent, but in 2017 and 2018, it was shifted to the 6 DOF. So 3 DOF and 6 DOF were recognized as one of the categories, and but in 2019, so when I went to Venice Film Festival after producing Feather, I saw VR 6 DOF and the VR with something new in it there, like haptics, smelling, or the moving chair, as you can see on the slide. So the audience is more absorbed in the work. So that happened already. So in Beat produced together with Ito-san in 2020, so we used the heartbeat as a haptics. And by feeling their own palpitation, they go on in the story. So we had a support from Wow Wow and the Cinema Leap for that work. But we couldn't foresee the COVID coming in 2020. So although the we co-developed a special device, the heartbeat haptics device for the work, the film festival secretariat said that they couldn't receive the special devices when we tried to send our work and a 6DOF devices to the Venice. So there was nothing we could do but using the VR HCT Vive. I mean, at least the audience can feel vibration linked to the pre-recorded heartbeat by wearing a VR head mount on. So we sent them to the Venice instead because the beat was a nominee at the festival. But what we wanted to do is to see audience interacting with this work with their own heartbeat, not the pre-recorded one. But that was impossible due to the COVID. But from the perspective of the anti-coronavirus measures, it is expected that some film festivals are reluctant to have some special or unusual device used at the venue. So I feel that this triggers the changing of the style of the films going forward, despite the emergence of the combination with the VR and the special devices such as haptics. So now we are in a break. But so impressive work in 2020, as I said to you, the YUHARA-san, the other day, the VR work in South Korea in 2020, Scarecrow, VR chat, and a special VR app for communication in VR enables users to experience sort of the theatrical VR story real time. So users can choose an avatar they like, get into the story, and Kakashi or Scarecrow will be guiding, so they can go on to the story with a scarecrow and where there is a dialogue free and only gestures are used for communication. So I saw this work for the first time at Danish Film Festival. The festival took place in Denmark and people playing the scarecrow were participating from the South Korea, myself from Japan. So despite the different time zones, so we share the same space and the same story. So it was a brand new experience to me. And the players have a relationship with the scarecrow. So when I said goodbye to the scarecrow, it was quite sentimental, but I haven't felt anything like this before. So for the time being, the VR and the special devices will not be prevalent due to the pandemic, but because of this pandemic of the COVID-19, this kind of the new work emerged. So I have a question to you again, Yuhara-san. So what kind of the VR work do you think is coming? And one more question. Is there any work you have found interesting or brand new lately? Well, I have experienced beat produced Ito-san and you, and it felt like that my heart was outside my body, but the feeling and the image in your work totally got along very well. So, in other words, my physical feeling and image in VR matched perfectly, which is great. But in the pandemic, as you mentioned, I think that more focus will be placed upon the online relationship. So why do I say this? Because VR is where you get a view of someone else by haunting the person or goods or even ghosts, whatever. So playing a character by haunting may be getting popular. So that is what I am thinking at the moment. So in games, in the recent games, for example, Among Us or Fall Guys, so you have your own character online. So we don't have to be in the same physical place. But we can share something together online, and that is quite interesting. So I think this trend or this kind of work can possibly be going around from now on. Characters, people, places, rules of the game, they are all we need with this. So we can do something in VR work, so which I think is getting prevalent. I agree with you. We will see more and more such works coming, but there is no such a work here in Japan. But looking back, the film festival this year and last year in particular at Venice, we have seen emergence of the theatrical online film work where users can experience. I think the 2020 the Venice Award for like experience went to such a work, so I expect this trend to continue. And are you going to try such a film work? Yes, I am interested. I just need to create the places and settings, people and rules. And I think it is possible to see something more than a creator expects to happen in his or her work, especially at the ending. Indeed, the Steve Jobs, who invented Macintosh, said his expectation had been betrayed. Likewise, not only devices, but also content-wise, the story, the changes depending on the user, which is quite interesting. I think that's possible. I want to talk more about this, but I have to move on to the next topic. Okay. From the storytelling, the VR, we have been talking so far about. So 5G is becoming a key word. Nowadays, the development of the AR or MR is accelerating. And at some film festival, so-called AR devices, say the HoloLens and Magic Leap, are being used in some film works. So they are at the experimental stage. But AR and MR are growing like VR was back in 2016. But we need work on, for example, environment and how to distribute the formats, low literacy by light users. So we have to think about these points, but the AR and MR are evolving now. So Yuhara-san, have you ever seen some storytelling, the AR or MR work? Storytelling works? No, no, not really. There are just a few works available now, but it's happening. I think I need to go see them directly at some film festival. Otherwise, it is impossible online. I agree. So at Venice, so which is one of the oldest three major film festivals, so they provide places to showcase advanced VR technology and the storytelling VR works. So many creators, including you, Yuhara-san, in the world are working on the contents for this segment. So at the film festival, device makers, creators, the distributors, and the investors, as well as the light users are come together. So this is a good opportunity for them to learn about the advanced technology. So that is what I'm thinking. So in the post-COVID, not online, so physically, so you should go to the film festival to see AR works firsthand and see the difference between the AR and the MR in Japan and overseas. I'm quite positive the film festival gives us a chance to see content with advanced technology. And another question. Oops, I have already asked this question to you. Have you seen AR or MR works lately? And you said no, right? No. But can I just talk about not VR or MR or advanced technology now? It's a combination of the old and the new technologies. I'm talking about the vocabulantis. So this integrates the stop motion animation and the game. It's a quite interesting. It's a Kickstarter and the campaign is underway for the raising money. I think they're still working on it. And the movements of the characters are quite interesting and good quality indeed. The way they express characters in stop motion animation totally matches the game. It's not animation or game, but interactive and funny. As I saw in a trailer, if a character runs, they take a lot of the pictures by changing light locations, front and back, or even from the top. So they arranged lighting depending on the scenes. So what they do is a sort of low technology, but it represents interaction, which is a current trend and game in it, and it's so great to me. So there is no standardized format for VR yet. So in that sense, it is likely that we will see more and more new types of the works going forward. I think so. It's possible. So, Yuhara-san, have you started working on the next project? Yes. If possible, can you talk about it just briefly? I have hand-drawn animation in a sphere with a 3DOF so far, but what I'm doing now is create a work with a 6DOF. I'm turning 25 this year, and when my mother was 25, I was born. So I'm an artist and talking with you, Mr. Machiba, but some people could become a mother. So a different word comes depending on what we do. So I want to express this in my next work. So I see how things go with my mother's view. So we are switching our views. That is what I want to express in my story. Wow, I can't wait to see it. When? So if I say a specific date, I would need to get finished by then. Okay. So a lot needs to be done from now on. I have another question to you. So what do you expect towards a VR, MR, or AR going forward? Well, I think now more technologies are available than before. So I'm just an artist, not engineer. But I can use those technologies easily now. So I hope more and more people are getting involved in this segment and inviting momentums like some YouTubers creating something new so that we can create the positive momentum in this segment. Okay. Now I'd like to say closing remark as well. Yuhara-san, Director Yuhara, Director Ito, and Director Jonathan Haggard for replacement, to tell you the truth, received awards at the Japan Media Art Festival by Agency for the Cultural Affairs of Japan. So I'm so pleased to see so many Japanese creators being internationally active. So I think younger directors are now catching up. But on the other hand, so we heavily depend upon their individual efforts. Your efforts are very important and necessary, but there is a limit if they keep filmmaking individually. So for the sake of the growth of this industry, I think we need more support for directors so that they can have a stronger team. That is something we have to do, and I myself keep providing support to them, and I'd like to ask for the more cooperation to those people. So I myself are determined to provide these supports to the directors. So we are waiting for your more support. So that concludes this session. So you can get access to the other talk events about the expanded animation for further information. So please check this QR code. Thank you.